Welcome back. How we doing? Happy Friday. What's going on, guys? Oh, that's good. That's good. Hit the like button. We're in 1440p tonight. Welcome back to the Funker 530 thing where we're live and we talk about videos and footage, and I'm Ronnie, and we've been doing this since February, and I don't know what we're going to call it yet, but we're going to keep doing it. That's for damn sure. Happy Friday to you, and a big happy Veterans Day. We are a veteran-based community, started by veterans, run by veterans, to showcase to the world what our veterans go through. At least that was the original mission. You know, it was started way back in 2006, 2007 by Funker, you know, our fearless leader. I hope he's watching. I can't say that. I can't say that without laughing. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why. But the original mission was to really just show his family his, combat footage from his deployment. Where we are nowadays is really trying to help the world see what war looks like, what combat footage, what use of force looks like. So in honor of Veterans Day, in honor of that mission, there's a 20% off coupon that I'm going to burn at the very top. I think you guys are going to love it. Bayraktar20. Just click on the pinned link at the top or run the command ! merch. You can pick up the HIMARS 2024. You can pick up the Maverick shirt. You can pick up, really anything there with that 20% off coupon. And it does support us, and I appreciate that very much. I also would be remiss without mentioning Funker 530 Premium, which is a new offering. We will have a little bit more to talk about with that on Monday, where we're going to be offering something very special. But we'll circle back to that on Monday. How we doing? Drop in the chat. Let me know where you guys are chiming in from. We are international, so it's so cool to see everywhere from Belgium to California to Texas to Norway. Let me know where you guys are. It also helps us here at the stream. It's one of the easiest ways to support the stream, by hitting the like button and dropping a comment in the chat. All right? We got a lot to talk about tonight. And once again, my PC wants me to do Windows updates, but we're not going to do it. We're not. DMs immediately. What? All right. Oh, God, Josh. What's the context here to this one, buddy? I remember this video. Josh is in my ear in the chat telling me to look at my DMs. And he wants me to show this video. All right, we're going to watch a bunch of badass Canadians on dirt bikes. Coming up for you guys right now. First, I'm going to show you guys the website, maybe help you navigate the website for a second. For those that aren't familiar with the website, at least, that's an important aspect of what we do. So check this out. So here's our website. Once you go to a video page, this is what you get. We're going to watch some absolute legends, Canadian Special Forces chasing Taliban on dirt bikes, to all of our Canadian veterans out there. Props to you guys. All right, you ready for this? Coming up for you right now.
Is he ready? Vroom, 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 vroom. Stop that shit, bro.
So if you're wondering what the f you're watching, this is one of the earliest uploads of Funker 530. One of the earliest uploads. Here you go.
Best ever.
Look at that end screen. Look at that end screen. Ugh. But those videos are still available. If you guys go all the way back to the very start of the YouTube channel, you can go and check out all of those original uploads from Funker himself. It's actually some really solid combat footage. Maybe we'll spend the first part of a stream talking about that one of these nights. Hit the like button. We're going to turn the music back on. I'm going to check in on the chat. And we're going to talk a little bit about Kherson here in a second. Ace, thanks for the $5. Ronnie, I've already hit up Denny's, Red Robin, Texas Roadhouse, IHOP, and Chili's. Anywhere else I should hit up? Our merch store with 20% off using Bayraktar20. Go hit that up. Memories of that screen? Welcome in, guys. I remember that from when I first found the website years ago. So I was a fan of Funker 530 before I was ever a part of the team. Let me just put it that way. We watched Funker videos before my first deployment. In fact, we were sitting in an OPSEC briefing one time. And, you know, in the U.S. military, I'm sure militaries all over the world have, you know, mandatory training. But the U.S. is kind of notorious for the amount of it. And OPSEC is one of those ones that you have to do when you're in your pre-mobilization stage. So I'm sitting there, and suddenly the NCO that's delivering the brief, I'm just a junior enlisted at the time, pulls this up, and he says, "Don't find yourself on Funker." This would have been circa 2012. He said, "Don't find yourself on Funker." And he pulls up Funker 530 videos. Fast forward by, I don't know, a decade, and here we are. That's an interesting story. Let's talk about Kherson. Miss T-Mag, thanks for the $15.99. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you all for your service and keeping me and my family safe, and much love from my family to yours. Thank you very much for the $15.99, and thanks for being here. Red C. Dale, thanks for the $10. I still think we should give Ukraine the ultimate weapon to defeat Russia. Thanks for the 10. Thanks for the 10. Steven, thanks for the $5. Happy Friday and glory to Ukraine from Utah. Welcome in from Utah. Let's talk about Kherson. Kherson has officially fallen, right? So we're going to check in on the Institute for the Study of Wars map here in just a second once I get this screen down. Josh, I want to let you know we lost a ton of viewers while watching that original Funker 530 combat footage. Let's check out the Institute for the Study of Wars map, and we'll start to talk about Kherson a little bit. So we're going to scroll down here. You can see they've already essentially updated the entirety of the right bank as being blue or Ukrainian advanced areas. You've got red areas that are still Russian controlled. What's interesting is, these islands between, the right and left bank that are still claimed or assessed Russian territories. It's difficult to say whether or not that's still the case. There's still one major threat that Ukraine has to worry about right now, and that's going to be the Kakhovka Dam up here to the right a little bit. So the Kakhovka Dam, essentially, if that gets destroyed, and it was reported not too long ago, and it's around about here, somewhere's about. If that gets destroyed, essentially what it'll do is it'll flood something like 80 settlements to the southwest here. Russia did hit both corners of the dam. They have been using it to evacuate. Another one that we're going to see some video and images of today is the Antonovsky Bridge that they would have theoretically used, but Ukraine had damaged that to a point to where it was unusable, and Russia was having to use a pontoon bridge next to the Antonovsky Bridge. But Russia has destroyed Antonovsky entirely. We're going to take a look at some of that footage here in just a second. One of the things that I wanted to talk about a little bit, though, is there are a lot of reports that are starting to come out from inside of Kherson, the city itself, of Russians essentially, ditching their gear and putting on civilian clothes. We're going to take a look at a couple images that have been making their way around social media. And the first one coming up here. When you are using an Uncle Mike's holster for your gat, that's what that looks like. You see his AK hanging out of the bottom of his jacket there. And the concern with this is potentially twofold, obviously. Guerrilla-style, partisan-type warfare that can continue in Kherson, which is likely to happen, as well as Russians just essentially trying to integrate with civilians. Now, this guy doesn't look like he's integrating with anybody. That looks like a Tuesday in Texas, now that I think about it. Let's bring it up and take a look at another one. 11. Got another one here of some Russian equipment that was left in a trash bag. You've got that 6B whatever bargain bin type stuff laying down in there. Somebody ditching their Russian gear. Coming back up, and then we'll look at one more. Now, Zelenskyy earlier today at about 3 p.m. announced that while they had yet to their full force enter Kherson City, it's assessed that Russia has more or less departed entirely, and Ukrainian SOF had entered Kherson City. That was, again, about 3 p.m. EST. You can see this. You know he's Russian based on the Killa tracksuit. But that is his 6B, again, whatever, gear that he's got laying on the ground there, ditching that for his civilian clothes. Deserters or infiltrators? I think that's the question, right? That's the concern. Are these folks that are deserting that are hoping to just integrate with Ukrainian civilians, or are these folks that are that we're going to see footage of later, essentially, right? Partisan type. The Russian version of Wolverines. I don't know what that would be. Wouldn't be a honey badger. Honey badger's too badass. I don't know, maybe a platypus or something. You know, looks weird. Not really sure what it does. Checking in on the chat here. The Adidas drip, though, it is drippy. And I do want a tracksuit real bad. It'll go well with my Killa helmet over there. Where are his weapons? I don't know. This probably isn't the same dude that we just looked at who's using his Uncle Mike's holster. We'll pull that one back up for a second here. There's his. So either he's got it slung across his back, or it's, you know, up there. Can't be certain. They're beavers. Don't besmirch the platypus. Yeah, that was, you know, a slap in the face to platypi. What platypuses? Definitely sketch. Yeah, it's something that we're gonna have to just keep an eye on. You know, my brain can't help but wonder the effectiveness, the organization of the withdrawal, right? And with Russia blowing the Antonovsky Bridge, we're gonna take a look at that footage now. They've essentially removed one of the easiest paths for those Russians whom are still... here's the video of it getting hit. For those Russians whom are still in Kherson. So there's the initial explosion. Then we're going to see some up-close footage. Perfect. That's the plural of platypus, platypussies. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yep. Always happy to be corrected. It's a very technical term. Here's some more up-close footage of the current state of the Antonovsky Bridge. But even this video doesn't do it fully justice. And prior to their full withdrawal, we saw them blowing, you know, smaller bridges yesterday, or excuse me, within the last 72 hours or so. But the removal of Antonovsky as a viable option for Ukraine to cross to the left bank was obvious. All right, and we got one more video that will help bring it all full circle on what Antonovsky looks like right now. And then we'll bring the map back up. I'll show you exactly where that bridge is. For those that... I copied and pasted the wrong... Give me a second, guys. I copied and pasted twice the same video. This is the one I wanted. Yep. Coming up for you now. There's that pontoon bridge that was being used. You can see that's now not usable anymore either. So, let's bring that full circle. The lingering concern now at this point. Oh, and I wanted to bring up a map. I'm sorry. The lingering concern now at this point is any remnants from a partisan warfare type perspective. You've also got the Kakhovka Dam. That's also of general concern. If Russia continues targeting that, it could essentially flood parts of Kherson City itself, along with settlements on both the left and the right bank, or the west and the east bank, respectively. Those are still lingering concerns. Now, where I think, and I tweeted about this a little while ago, once Ukraine essentially establishes a defensive posture along the Dnipro, really to just retain that ground. Once you take ground, you then need to hold it, right? So Russia took Kherson, and it took Ukraine about 8 months to eventually take that back. It's actually the only oblast capital that Russia was able to successfully take. They were not successful in taking Kharkiv. They were not successful in taking Sumy, Chernihiv, anywhere else. Kherson was the only successful major metropolitan area in Ukraine that Russia took beyond the Donbass and Crimea. But if I had to throw, and we talked about this a little bit on Wednesday, if I had to throw a dart at a dartboard and say where will it be that Ukraine focuses combat power once they establish a defensive posture here that can be that can withstand, I would say Zaporizhzia. And the reason I would say Zaporizhzhia is it is an overwhelming goal of Russia's. At worst, Russia ends all of this with a land bridge between Crimea and Donbass, then they are successful in their minds. This land bridge being that. So I think we begin to see heavy defensive posture in Kherson, continued pressure on that Svatova-Kreminna front up here in the northeast, but offensives even through the winter down here in Zaporizhzhia to drive a wedge into that land bridge. All right, I'm going to check in on the chat. Hey, Flip, I see you out there. Let's turn some music on here. I also want to check in on the support that's coming in. Thank you guys for it. Happy Friday to you. Happy Veterans Day. Can't get right. Thanks for the 460. Can't they put a ramp on the bridge and just do jumps? Yes. I did pass along schematics for that, namely the video we watched Wednesday, as an example, just in case. Thanks for the 460. Christopher Hallam, thank you for the $10. Ferret. Okay. Yeah, Ferret might work. JJ Pearson, thanks for the $2. USA. Appreciate it. In honor of Veterans Day, guys, I burned a 20% off coupon code that we've had for a long time. Bayraktar20. If you want to pick up a HIMARS 2024 shirt, you want to pick up an A10 Burt shirt, the Maverick shirt, the Definition of War shirt, any merch on our site, 20% off for Veterans Day. Okay? Got me a free steak at Texas Roadhouse. You deserve it. All right, let's move on to the next thing I wanted to talk about. As the title implies, there's been another $400 million package that is designated to be provided to Ukraine. We're going to, just like we do every time, examine that. Now, something that I noted with this one that was a little bit different than the others is it's not... it does. It's presidential drawdown. Presidential drawdown. Okay? let's set the differentiation once again, like we do every time that we look at DoD releases. Presidential drawdown means it's coming from the United States current stock. A Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative means that it is not coming from current stock, but they are contracts with industry to make that happen. This is coming from presidential drawdown, and we're actually going to talk about one of the reasons that makes sense. Avengers. Well, we start with missiles for Hawk air defense systems, for Avenger air defense systems, and Stinger missiles. The Stinger missiles provides a little bit of insight on the version of the Avenger. We'll talk about that here in a second. More ammunition for HIMARS, 155 rounds, precision-guided 155 rounds. That's Excalibur. We're going to see an Excalibur compilation or montage, whatever you want to call it, here in just a little bit. More Humvees, grenade launchers, small arms. And this is the last one I wanted to key in on. Cold weather protective gear. Now, somebody asked a question last Wednesday, and my brain processed it, but my mouth didn't say the things that I wanted to say. You know, will winter slow this down? From a Ukraine perspective, I don't think so. I don't think so, and here's why. That one line. It's not the first time we've seen that line, cold weather protective gear. The U.S. and the West are enabling Ukraine to continue to be able to fight through the winter. Russia has had a hard enough time in the summer to supply their units with necessary equipment to maintain combat power, to maintain offensive initiative. I think we continue to see offensives from Ukraine. And again, if I had to put a dart to dartboard on where exactly that would be, it would be Zaporizhzia. And I think we continue to see Russia on the back foot because of that. That being said, Russia is renowned for being able to fight in the winter. But again, Ukraine at one point in time was a part of Soviet Russia. So you're looking at really the same culture there behind the winter. A lot of people, you know, when I've had private conversations about this, have said, well, you know, Russia knows how to fight in the winter. I'm like, well, so does Ukraine. Like it's so do they, right? It's part of their culture. So that's a line that I wanted to point out there, and in a roundabout way, kind of answer it, shot in the dark. I don't know what I don't know. I don't think winter slows this down. Now, ISW agrees. They think that that's going to continue, that offensives are going to continue, but at some point, the offensives, and we're already kind of getting there in Kharkiv to the northeast, have culminated to a sense. Culmination is essentially when an operation reaches a point where continuing that would be more detrimental than the possible gains. Russia's culmination early on was at the point where they were about 20 kilometers from Kyiv. And likewise with the Kharkiv counteroffensive, that is appearing as though it's starting to culminate. Checking in on the chat. I subbed way back 2015. Funker's been around for a long time, man. I saw NASAMS getting loaded on a C-17 in Konus the other day. That's interesting. I wonder what the destination for those is, because we do know that NASAMS, I forget what it's, Norwegian, I'm drawing a blank on it. Somebody can Google it. But anti-air capabilities, we do know that those have been provided to Ukraine. So I'm interested to understand whether or not those are additionals that are going to be provided as an eventuality, or if they're backfilling something somewhere else. How would a company get in contact to advertise with you? You can use admin@funker530.com for that. The Russians will unleash a new Stalingrad. Oh, okay. You're muted. Not quite. What I want to do is I want to actually fire up the Q&A. That way I can go back through that. Drop your questions here. I want to fire up the Q&A because we'll be doing that every stream. we will have a Q&A section of the stream where I go back and take a look at all the questions that come in. All right, I wanted to cover the $400 million in additional assistance, but I also wanted to dive in a little bit into the Avenger. So you see 4 Avenger air defense systems. It sounds cool, but to be honest with you, it's not as sexy as you might think. Let's take a look at the Avenger. It's basically a Humvee with stingers on the top of it. I just described it for you. That's about it. But we'll take a look. And we'll talk about some of the capabilities of it too. So here is a picture of the Avenger systems. Now, they're built, obviously, if you can't tell, on the Humvee platform. I chose this picture because it looked cooler than the other picture that I had. They're built on the Humvee platform. They are unarmored and unarmed platforms. Not very capable outside of in an anti-air capacity. Now, in 2017, proximity warheads were added to Stingers from a capability perspective to allow them to target UAVs. Hello? What's going on here? F11, go away. Thank you. Oh, every time I zoom in on the photo, it brings my address bar back up. In 2020, now these are coming from presidential drawdown, which means, again, that it's coming from current stock. But in 2020, these were actually replaced. They were replaced by the IM SHORAD, the Interim Maneuver Short-Range Air Defense System, which is built on the Stryker platform. Right? So before you say, we're giving away all of our good stuff, this is not our good stuff. Take a look at our good stuff. This looks like the thing from RoboCop to me. Look at that damn thing. This has a 30-millimeter chain gun on it. It's got Hellfires. It's got Stingers, and it's got a 240. It's got an M240 on it. This is what the U.S. Army has essentially replaced the Avenger with. Can we see the questions? That would be nice. You should only have to click on the Q&A section. I think. To be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure how the Q&A works. We tested it for the first time on Wednesday. So if you can't see them for whatever reason, you might have to go from live chat to questions up in the top left of your chat bar. If you can't see them, it's more of a limitation of YouTube, and it is something that I'm putting in place. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover on the $400 million to Ukraine. And the next thing I wanted to cover is this video. Now, I'm going to let you watch this video. And I'm not going to tell you at all. I'm going to tell you that it's an interview of Putin. Go ahead. Here you go.
Добрый день, Константин Панюшкин, Первый канал. Скажите, пожалуйста, какова судьба все-таки наших миротворцев в регионе?
Что-то еще?
Вы сказали, по миротворцам добавить нечего, просто Пашинян накануне поездки в Россию говорил о том, что он хотел бы продлить мандат с 5 лет сразу до, может быть, даже 20. Он предлагал это вам, и как это было обсуждено?
Мы об этом говорили. Пожалуйста.
Добрый вечер, Павел Зарубин, телеканал «Россия». Одна из главных мировых тем – это приостановка участия России в зерновой сделке. И, конечно, уже поднялся такой новый мощный хор из голосов лидеров западных стран. Они все обвиняют Россию в провоцировании мирового голода. Байден вообще назвал решение России возмутительным. Да, мы уже слышали заявление Министерства обороны России, но можно вас спросить, все-таки почему Россия такое решение приняла? Как вы относитесь к этим обвинениям в срыве договоренностей? И ведь ООН и Турция заявили о том, что они будут продолжать выпуск судов, и что тогда дальше? И как вообще вот этот процесс дальше, на ваш взгляд, может происходить? Спасибо.
Она никаким изменениям и сомнениям не подлежит. Что еще? Пожалуйста.
После теракта на Крымском мосту вы сказали, что в случае повторения подобных терактов ответ России будет соразмерным.
Но это не все, что мы могли бы сделать. Пожалуйста.
Здравствуйте, Александр Юношев, Лайф. Владимир Владимирович, вот в продолжении возможных мирных переговоров с Зеленским или невозможных, вас несколько раз спрашивали, поедете ли вы на G20, где, возможно, будет Зеленский. Вы несколько раз говорили, что решение еще не принято. Может быть, уже принято. И что с Таиландом? На саммит АТЭС поедете? Спасибо.
Нет, пока эти решения не приняты. Но поскольку мы уже все дальше и дальше отходим от темы сегодняшних переговоров и от предмета сегодняшних переговоров, то мне кажется, на этом можно бы и завершить. Большое вам спасибо.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But here's the deal. If you have to ask me if that's fake, or if you're in the chat complaining that that's fake, this is probably not the best place for you. All right? I wanted everybody to get a laugh, and that was funny. Let's move on to our combat footage that we have for tonight. We're going to be starting with Kherson in the south. Hit the like button for me. Tap on it, slap it. Remember, for the like button, it's an uppercut, not a straight punch, right? You got to lift a little bit when you slap it. Eagle Spurch, thanks for the 5. My first Funker video was the guy exposing himself to Taliban fire. When you said exposing, I'm a child. I'm sorry. So a squad platoon could escape, move to a better position. That was actually a badass video. My first Funker video was probably one of the Canadian ones, actually. Was probably one of Funker's patrol videos, now that I think about it. Because, again, we were watching that, you know, loading up, getting ready. Can't Get Right, thanks again for the 460. Chris, thanks for the $10 again. Appreciate you. Let's take a look at some footage coming out of Kherson. We've got BM-21 grads. Reportedly firing in the general direction. You guys know I'm not overly a fan of the BM-21 grad. It has its place, but it's a very inaccurate, kind of blanket fires type weapon. Russia used it almost ad nauseum, targeting population centers. It just kind of sends hate and destruction in a general direction. And that's exactly what's happening here. Check this out. And if that one didn't do it for you, presumably Kherson, you know, again, this is just reported. I can't validate this stuff. That was bright. I have the flash on for my notifications. Anyway, presumably from Kherson, once again, Ukraine decides that everything in that general direction needs to go away rapidly. I like when Ronnie doesn't talk. Well, you don't have to watch. You can go watch all of these videos, believe it or not, on the app without me talking. So maybe download the app, go check that out. That's what it's there for. This show is really just to provide a little bit of context, connect with you guys, connect with the community, but you don't have to watch it. It's entirely up to you. Happy Friday. How you doing? All right, let's jump in. That's all I have from Kherson. Now, of course, we could show a ton of videos of, you know, troops entering Kherson, high-fiving, being greeted. There's a lot of that stuff that's available on Twitter. We focus a little bit more intently on combat footage. We start the stream with some funnies every so often and some context videos. There's a lot of footage that's out there right now of Ukrainian troops as they pass through these villages and towns, being greeted by local residents, you know, citizens of Kherson Oblast, being excited that they're there. We also see that same kind of footage coming from Russia, but that's not the kind of stuff that we would typically focus this stream on. So we're going to move into Kharkiv. This one's a little bit dated, but it's some really good footage of, and when I say a little bit dated, it's last month, but we're just now keying in on it. This is helmet cam footage of the Ukrainian National Guard during the Battle of Lyman, just from last month during that major offensive when Ukraine recaptured Lyman. Coming up for you now. Got my pro subscription this morning. Paul, thank you for that. There is no audio for the second part of this video. Love the broadcast, Ronnie. MP, thanks for being here. We will be doing our Q&A session probably right at 7 o'clock. So if you guys enjoy that, we had a lot of fun with it on Wednesday. I'm sure there's all kinds of funny stuff coming around. I want to check in on that right now. Drop a question in there. Right around 7 o'clock is when we'll jump into Q&A. Let's move on to our next one that we've got. We've got a Russian tank and patrol base getting. Hi, buddy. Come here. Sorry. Time out. Here, say hi. Can you go lay down? Thank you, sir. Time in. We've got a Russian patrol base and tank getting just absolutely rocked by artillery here. Again, this is from somewhere in the east, Donbass area, Donetsk-ish. Coming up for you now. I got copyright music, playing our own. Oh, there's another pupper. I've got another dog. Here, Luna. Here, baby. You guys want to see the other dog? Well, you're going to have to anyway, because we're coming right back up. Well, come here. Hi. Yes. Look at you. This is Luna. Lay down. Go on. Go lay down. All right. Let's move into our next one. Our next one, we're actually already jumping into our unknown location footage. But we've got a lot of it. There's a lot of unknown location footage. And the first one is coming from someone that I admire very much, from Nuckenfut's Yuri. We got two perspectives of this. Nuckenfuts, if you're not following him, he is often in the comments at Funker530. But this is a video of him in the gunner's hatch. I'll provide you guys a link to his stuff. I'd recommend go and following him. He is a U.S. Army veteran in Ukraine right now. That is the link to his Instagram. We're going to watch him in the gunner's hatch here hit a landmine. He does take some shrapnel to his legs, and not all of his team survives this. We're going to see two perspectives of it. One from the sky and one from inside. We're going to watch the one from the sky first, and then we're going to watch the one from Yuri himself on top of the Humvee. First one's coming up here now. Copywritten music. Now, there's actually quite a bit of information about this from Yuri in the comments. I'm going to give you guys a link to the website right there for you. You go in and check what Yuri had to say about it. I want to say driver rear. Ukrainian soldier didn't make it. That was, we believe, a landmine. You see that second Vic returned, laying down fire with the 50, letting her eat on top. Again, Yuri, and I provided his Instagram to you guys in the comments there just a moment ago. Former U.S. Army soldier. I'll provide that one more time to you. Former U.S. Army soldier, now volunteering in Ukraine. He's been there since, I want to say, 2012. Yuri, if you're out there, thinking about you. So the next video we're going to watch is actual on-board video of that very same attack. This is, or that very same mine strike. And that's coming up for you guys here now. I want to say this one actually has audio, though. A lot of incoming. This might be difficult to watch, everybody. This is where some copyright music is in the back end. So this is post-blast. Now, Josh, in his write-up for these videos, actually mentioned something pretty profound. You see Yuri getting it after just getting hit by a mine, putting some fire down. One of the questions that might come to mind, based on your experience in Global War on Terror and those, up-armored Humvees, is how did they survive? If they were getting shredded to pieces by the IEDs used by terrorist groups, extremists, etc., how are they surviving hitting mines? Well, something to remember is those EFPs and, advanced improvised explosive devices that were being used in the Global War on Terror were quite literally designed to defeat up-armored Humvees. These mines that they're hitting now are Soviet-era type mines that really aren't designed for up-armored Humvees. So that up-armored Humvee is just giving them that little bit of extra help when it comes to hitting a mine. Checking in on the chat here. Sending it down. Yep. Can't believe anyone survived, right? Gets hit, doesn't quit. Correct. Go follow Yuri's Instagram. I'm giving you a link to that right here. All right, let's jump into our next one here, but that one is one I wanted to highlight early on for us. So the next one is we talked a little bit about the 500. I need the 500 precision guided 155 rounds that are being provided to Ukraine. That's essentially Excalibur, not Excalibur, idiot. That's Excalibur. So what we're going to see here is a compilation of Excalibur strikes on Russian equipment. That's coming up for you now. Play some music. Happy Veterans Day to you. If you guys wouldn't mind tapping on the like button for us. Seen any footage of the Taiwan 60mm mortar drones in use yet? No, but we have seen some footage of, just the makeup. We looked at that not too long ago. Checking in on the support coming in over here. Cheddar, thank you Cheddar Artisan Cheeses, thanks for the 350. Yo, Ronnie, what team wears the blue armband? That's going to be Ukraine. Ukraine. And now the differentiation between like blue, yellow, etc. Is beyond me. But, you know, blue and yellow, that's going to be Ukraine. Blue and yellow being the flag colors. Russia will typically be in white or red. GPS-guided ordnance, yep. Excalibur has been doing exactly what it was designed for, which is pinpoint high-priority targets. We're going to see a Russian 152mm 2S3 self-propelled gun getting destroyed by a Stugna P. If you're not familiar with the Stugna P, it's an anti-tank guided missile that is developed by Ukraine. They actually are very astute at developing their own weapons. If you guys haven't seen the Ukrainian alligator, I want to shoot that really, really bad. This video is coming up for you guys right now. Green is also Ukraine. Thanks, Shenanigans. Yep. All right, coming back up. We're starting to get. We're about 12 minutes out from the Q&A, but I want to get through the rest of these. What we've got next is small things doing big stuff, which is kind of how I live my life. You'll understand what I mean by watching the video here. That's a T-80 being taken out by a very small munition. Now, it's likely that the T-80... So the T-80 has already been hit once or twice. You can see looking through thermal here. You can see looking through thermal, you've got the heat signature already around it. Coming up. All right, we've got the VDV. 2 VDV vehicles are... Give me a second. That link didn't work. Airborne. There it is. VDV is Russia's airborne. I wish I could still find the dubbed VDV video. Somebody dubbed over subtitles of the VDV like recruitment or, you know, moto video, and it was one of the funniest things I'd ever watched. I'll see if I can find that one maybe for the next stream. We'll watch that one again. But what we got is 2 VDV BMD vehicles being destroyed in, you know, pretty rapid succession by Ukrainian SOF. Videos coming up for you guys right now. You see Russians unassing those vehicles. One of which appears to be injured. Russian just unbuttoned from the first vehicle, and then that vehicle takes a hit as well. Coming back up. So not too long ago, we saw some footage of Russia's fleet being targeted by a series of drones. Water drones, and I've had a lot of questions about what exactly those are, and what it appears to be is they're, you know, once again, Ukrainian developed drones that there's now a really awesome highlight reel for. Check this out. I'm gonna give you full screen on. Got copyrighted music, so I'm gonna have to run our own. So the footage you're seeing right here is actual footage that we watched when it was released of a chopper firing small arms at those drones you just saw being built. Let's watch that one more time. Got the link by chance? The link to what? The link to this video? There you go. All the links to our footage that we watched during the stream are always available to you in the stream description. So always check the stream description, and you'll be able to find any of the videos that we're going through throughout the night. Oh, the link to those drones being used? Drone. I feel like if I type in drone, that's going to bring up all kinds of stuff. Let's see if I can grab that. See how long it takes me to find it. About a week ago. Found it. Copy link. There's the link to the drone attack on the Russian Black Sea Fleet. There you are. We've got an interesting one here. Looks like under a retrograde of some kind. A Ukrainian unloading the entirety of his RG-6 grenade launcher. Kind of an interesting send it video. Good evening, Ian. All right, let's bring it back up, and we got one more video to watch until we get into a new segment that we used to do that I want to start doing again every Friday, and that's going to be the top 3 of the week. We're going to start taking a look at the top 3 most watched videos on our app and website. But the first one is more Excalibur footage. I mean, this thing is pinpoint accuracy. And check this out. You can't hide from it. You just can't hide. The giggle in the background, it gets me every time. Now that the age-old tactic of covering yourself from the skies is still in effect. What's making this even more difficult, though, is drones, right? So not only do drones have that, straight top-down view, but now you've got to worry about an essential forward observer that can get right up on all of your equipment and look at it from all angles and really find wherever it is you're hiding. Drones are a version of warfare that we're only seeing the first part of. We're only seeing the first uses. It's in its infancy right now. Hell, we even saw drone-on-drone combat on this show at one point. Checking in on the chat here. All right, let's get into our top 3 most watched videos. Each of these would, in my opinion, be considered, generally speaking, not safe for work. So I'm going to go to our trending. We're going to go to 7 days. And the very first one, in the number 3 spot, is a drone capturing a bird's eye view of a Ukrainian sniper taking out a Russian soldier. We actually just watched this one last night. We're only going to watch these once, so if you miss it, check the stream description. Or head to the website, click on trending, and they're right there for you. All right, coming back up. In the number 2 spot for the most watched videos on the app and website, we've got either the luckiest Russian soldier ever or the 2-time hot potato champion. Coming up full screen. Once again, discretion is advised. Something of note here, I'm going to pause, is the tourniquet that's already been applied to his leg. Yeah, on the first video, Mike, if you blink, you miss it. If you blink, you miss it. Luna's barking. Coming back up, and our number 1 most watched video in the last 7 days, over the week. Once again, not safe for work. I would just say discretion is advised on this one. Is a Russian assault that doesn't go well. Coming up for you guys right now, and I'm going to shut my door while this is going. All right, coming back up. There we go. So, I want to check in on the support. I've seen a couple of them come across, and we just had a whole bunch of renewals on their memberships, guys. Thank you very much for it. Consider, if you're a member here on YouTube, potentially picking up a Funker Pro account. Something that you guys have probably noticed is that we have an ad-free viewing experience now on the live stream, and that's because, I bought a Pro account. I bought my own Pro account. But one of the many perks that comes along with having a Pro account is an ad-free viewing experience. We love our partners, the Armored Republic's ATN's One Nation Coffee, which I was drinking tonight. But we also recognize that you guys might be interested in an ad-free viewing experience. So consider moving your membership from here over to there. You're welcome to keep both, obviously, but we could never ask you to. Something of note is over here, Google takes about 30% of that. Over there, 100% of it goes back to the team. Mr. Salty, thanks for the $5. Revenge, welcome to the Funkers. Thanks for becoming a member. Tinker Tricks, thanks for the 962. Greetings from Sweden. Served in the Swedish Army 1987, and I was IK-91 mechanic, infantry support, tank. I also got the chance to drive 103B. I can't pronounce that. I can't even pronounce most English words. Keep up the great work, fellas. Thanks very much for that, and thanks for being here. All right, let's jump into some of our non-Ukraine footage. Like I mentioned earlier, we cover war, conflict, use of force from across the globe. We've got something interesting coming from Baluchistan. Baluchi insurgents allegedly attacking Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The IRGC being Iranian. This one's interesting. Most of you should be familiar with the turmoil that's happening in Iran right now. We can't validate that that's what's happening in this video, but I also will pull up a map here in just a second to help you understand where Baluchistan is. One of those situations where, the population doesn't necessarily align themselves with the borders that were put in place by the West, more or less. Coming up for you guys now. One more time. All right, bringing it back up. So let me show you a map really quick to help orient you to Baluchistan. Bring that map out. There we go. So what you're looking at here are the major ethnic groups with Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, and portions of India, right? So you've got Baluchi in the pink. You've got Pashtun. A lot of people will be familiar with things like Pashtunwali, something that was talked about quite a bit. You've got Punjabi, and then Sindhi. So that should help orient you to, generally speaking, where Baluchistan is. Looks like me after Taco Bell. Oh, God. All right, let's come back up, and we've got one more to watch before we get into the Q&A. This one is going to be an enjoyable watch for you. Most of you should be familiar with Abu Hajr and the rockets for people, but are you guys familiar with Abdul Karim? Abdul Karim is Abu Hajr's close relative. Decides to just shoot his fellow Islamic State buddy. Yeah, Mark, I did notice that, but it was one of the easiest to see, highest resolution maps I could find. A little bit, definitely dated though. Oh no, I wanted to hear it. Translation: You shot me, Abdul Karim. There you go. If you're not familiar with Abu Hajr, you should definitely familiarize yourself with it. I wonder if that's a searchable term. Abu Hajr. No, we have the Chechen version of Abu Hajr from 6 months ago. If you guys want to watch that, but there's a great piece of combat footage. I want to say that came out of the Syrian civil war, maybe. An insurgent by the name of Abu Hajr is firing an RPG out of the back of an armored personnel carrier with a bunch of people in it, not checking his backblast. And he's in an argument with another, Islamic State guy about which rocket to use. No, the rocket for people. And it's one of the most hilarious videos we've got. Love the shirt. Get yourself one. 20% off coupon, Bayraktar20. Click the link in the pinned comment or use the command !merch. We're going to be moving into our Q&A section here. First, I want to check some of the support that's coming in. Thank you guys again for it. Legendary Studios Canada, thanks for the 210. Tactical muffins or tactical cupcakes? I prefer muffins, personally. Mike, thanks for the 1506. Keep up the good job. Thanks very much for being here. And thanks for the 1506. Christopher Hallam, thanks again for the $10. We're going to swap it over to the Q&A, and I'm going to roll back to the beginning of the questions. Question from Mister, can you talk less and show more videos? No. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you, though. Ron, did you get the gold snipe yet? Sure did. Yeah, finally got that. We're going to turn the music back on here. How much tube food do the mods get paid for tonight? Vienna sausage water. That's what you guys are getting for tonight. Hey, times are tough, buddy. How soon do you think the culmination point will be in the Southern Front in Kherson? Now. And the reason I say that is Russia is actively just to back up for a second. Culmination. Culmination is something I talked about a little bit earlier. That is effectively when during an operation you reach a point to where pressing any further provides diminishing returns and increased risk to any gains that you would achieve, right? I would say in Kherson, that's happening now, largely because of the Dnipro. Russia is establishing a defensive posture on the opposite side of an extremely effective defensive feature, a big-ass river, right? They're also destroying bridges in Ukraine's capability to ford that by destroying the Antonovsky. They've also reportedly today, which, I can't validate yet because I only had about 10 minutes to research that because it was just an hour or so ago, hit the Kakhovka Dam. Now, the Kakhovka Dam is an entirely different subject and deep dive to talk about. The implications of that going down could be drastic. Very drastic. It would essentially flood areas of Kherson City, along with some 80-something settlements along the Dnipro. Do we know the small arms daily ammo burn rate for each side yet? No, we don't. It's a lot, though. At this point, we can take a look at the amount of ammunition that the United States has provided to date. We have that here in the DoD fact sheet. I'm going to show you guys how you can find that. So if you go to Department of Defense releases, down at the bottom of each of their releases is a fact sheet. We covered this on Wednesday as well. This is your fact sheet for everything that's been provided today. Let's see how many rounds we've provided. We've provided 84 million rounds of small arms ammunition. And I'm sure we're not the only ones that are providing small arms, right? So put that into perspective with how much small arms are being used. Here's one from Emerald Wolf. As a fellow lefty, do you just adjust to right-handed rifles and pistols, or you look for left-handed or ambidextrous? When it comes to the AR platform, I actually prefer to use a standard AR platform rifle because, the Army issued me one that way, and I've just spent so much time behind it. I'm starting to get used to my new Daniel Defense, which has ambidextrous controls, but with my index finger, I've gotten so used to operating that as a lefty, on right-handed rifles that it feels natural to me. I also like to just be able to pick up any rifle that's out there, say laying on the ground over there, somebody's right-handed rifle, and be able to run that in a general sense the same way I can. Something that I'm really starting to get into, though, is the idea of running an AK as a lefty with the way the controls are set up on it. Can you see my question? I'm being an awesome viewer and helping by asking a question. Can't get right? I sure can, buddy. We got a question from T.S. Martin. Will Russia start using drones and cruise missiles on Kherson? Almost undoubtedly. It's difficult to see a situation where they don't do that. How do you find the Russians hiding in Kherson dressed as civilians? Just type in Russian civilians Kherson in Twitter. That'd be too easy for you to find. Let's see here. Still going through all the questions. I can't see the live chat at the moment. Do you get Brazilian wax on account of your shorts? No. I listen, that is a survival tactic, leaving the hair on. It's for cold weather when I need to wear the shorts in the cold weather. Does Russia have an air force? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Russian air doctrine versus like Western air doctrine is something I've talked about before. The United States considers the air a domain, right? Land, sea, air, space, cyber. Cyber is actually the fifth domain. Russia less so. Russia sees air as really an accompaniment to ground operations. So when people kind of laugh at Russia not establishing some level of air superiority, by doctrine, that's not something that they feel as needing to establish superiority in separately. Historically, they just use that as an enablement for their ground operations, for the Russian wave, i.e. what the AK was designed to support or designed for. More questions coming in. Do you think in the long run Ukraine will get over the Dnipro, and if so, what will happen? I anticipate that in the long run, yes. But I think what ends up happening first, again, is a focus on Zaporizhzia. Because when you look at a campaign map, we'll pull that up now. when you look at a campaign map, we've been focusing on this very intently since the beginning, stated objectives, right? What is Russia's goal? Russia's goal, at a bare minimum is this land bridge that connects Crimea to Donetsk and Luhansk, the Donbass. I think the focus area needs to be, or will be, again, dart at a dartboard. I don't know what I don't know, and I don't focus all of my time on Ukraine issues. We cover everything here. Ukraine is just what we have covered the most because, to be honest with you, it's the most impactful war that we have going on right now. If this war were taking place in Papua New Guinea, that's where we'd be focused at the moment. I don't consider myself a Ukraine expert nor a Russia expert. We focus on the footage and the context. But if I had to throw a dart at a dartboard, I think the focus becomes Zaporizhzia. And with pressure in Zaporizhzia, that potentially relieves the opportunity for Ukraine to cross the Dnipro in Kherson. Yes, Matthew, I think I just answered that one. Absolutely. That's something that I've talked about, a few times tonight and on Wednesday is a focus point in Zaporizhzia. Pistol or shotgun for home defense, all of the above. AR, pistol, shotgun, I have many options at my disposal. Let me just put it that way. Scrolling back up through the questions here. Do you think Ukraine can get to the pre-invasion border in 2 months? General Ben Hodges said that Ukraine could do that, but I'm not sure that fast. I don't know if I'm informed enough to answer that question. I would assume that General Hodges is operating off of better information than I am, better, more robust information. What I would say is Ukraine has a lot of initiative right now, a lot of momentum. Momentum is absolutely a thing. Losing the initiative can be absolutely disastrous. Morale is extremely high. Capitalizing on that, using that as an opportunity to turn the tide, which I would say already has happened, it should be of utmost priority. Scrolling back up through here. Where do you think Ukraine will go next? I think we mentioned that one. Zaporizhzhia, probably. I think they maintain pressure in the Kharkiv area along the Svatova-Kreminna front up here. But I think a new focus point needs to be, if it's not already, Zaporizhzhia. Has Russia always been this bad militarily? That's kind of a loaded question because the answer is both yes and no. During the Cold War, no, right? So you have to remember that during the Cold War, Russia was absolutely a peer to the United States. From an equipment perspective, their equipment, they had something to match us in almost every respect. What ended up happening, though, with the fall of the Soviet Union is essentially, and this is an oversimplification of probably a complex answer to this, but in my mind, what ends up happening is Russia loses that momentum that they had, with Soviet Russia. The United States continued to build upon what it had already done during the Cold War, and essentially Russia got left behind. Right, a lot of the munitions that we're still seeing still make up the bulk. These are 80s era systems that might have been competitive during the Cold War. But now, after seeing what's happening in Ukraine, it's hard to believe that the big bad bear that we grew up with fared this poorly, and even the basics of military operation, things like logistics. I've talked about that before. Is Ukraine holding back? I don't think so. I think they're trying to play as safe as possible right now. And when I say that, we watched footage. Again, I answer a lot of these questions based on what we see on footage, right? Because I don't claim, and I'll state this again, and I'll continue to foot stomp it until forever. I don't claim to be a Ukraine expert. I don't claim to be a Russia expert. Nor do I claim to be an expert on the weapon systems that they each field. I have better knowledge now than I did before. But based on the footage that we've seen, We've seen Ukraine, performing exercises in the north, withholding combat power that can be aligned against, that theoretically could be aligned against the fight in the east, the southeast, Zaporizhzia. But I think they're playing smarter than that. You've got that buildup of Russian and Belarusian troops on the northern border. We've seen Ukraine conducting exercises showing that they theoretically could maintain a multiple front conflict, a multiple front war. I'll give you guys a map here. For those that remember, Russia did initially invade from the north as one of their fronts. They made it very close, all the way up to Izium. Where is that river? I'm trying to find a specific river here. We haven't focused on this in a little while, so... I think I'm getting mixed up on the Izium. But regardless, what I'm essentially saying in response to the question is, I don't think they're holding back. I think they're trying to play more strategic than that. And if you look at Russia's withdrawal as voluntary, they just decided to withdraw. That's absolutely not the case. Ukraine has set conditions for this over months and months and months, right? Continuously hitting Russian supply lines, continuously keeping Russia from being able to align combat power. That's something they've been doing for a very long time. They set conditions for this from a strategy perspective. Would it be better if Ukraine pushes across the river sooner rather than later? So if moving too rapidly into the exploitation phase, if you think about routing an army, imagine, Revolutionary War era, you rout an army and your army just ends up in disarray, following them, cheering. You can end up with a very disorganized front, a lot of isolation of your troops. I think if they move too quickly now, you're going to end up with a lot of disorganization on the front. You're going to put a lot of troops at risk. Again, I think Ukraine moves to a defensive posture on the Dnipro here. But I, once again, in claiming not to be an expert on just about anything, I consider myself more of kind of a jack of many trades. You don't know what you don't know, right? Maybe it could be the best opportunity right now for them to do that. I would assume that Russia has been preparing for this withdrawal for some time. And based on how large the Dnipro is, that's not jumping over a creek, right? It's not as simple as just a pontoon bridge, as Russia found out. Shall Russians who hide in Kherson and mix up in the crowd act as spotters? This is from Aquasteph. To hit Ukrainian targets, and not only in Kherson, but future fronts, also so they bypass announcing incoming artillery. That is a concern. Again, you're looking at an easy opportunity for kind of forward observer, for partisan type stuff, infiltrators. You've got this new introduction. We're going to talk about drones again, where you remove the requirement for a forward observer, to a certain extent. You've got extremely accurate GPS coordinates that can be called back. You don't need a Linsatic compass and a map to do that. We do know that Russia likes using plotting boards and bag charges for their mortars. So maybe they are leaving them behind just to mark priority targets for future strikes. There's a level of indiscriminate targeting of population centers that's taken place over the last 8 months, February, March. Yeah, 8 months or so. So to a certain extent, they might not even need these guys to call something back. They'll just send rockets in there. Does the Dnipro freeze, and can it be crossed? To the extent that would allow the amount of combat power necessary to cross that, I don't think so. Take that with a grain of salt, though. That might be one for the research books. But, you got to think of a 15, 20-ton tank moving across a frozen river that is, dozens of meters deep at the shallowest, right? The Antonovsky Bridge is not a small bridge. Again, we can go back and look at, you go back and look at photos. That's not a short trip. Even if it does freeze to that extent, you are wide open. at that point. Imagine receiving artillery on a frozen river in an armored personnel carrier that already is probably too heavy to be driving across it if you are making it that far. That just doesn't seem like it'd be feasible. There are certain points that the Dnipro isn't as wide, but even then, an APC to carry people across to give them some semblance of protection is heavy, very heavy. All right, I think we're getting pretty close to being done with the Q&A section. When will you visit Lviv or Kyiv? We actually will, from the Funker 530 team, did visit Ukraine. So he was on ground in Ukraine a few months ago, went to both Kyiv and Lviv. So we've had team members in Ukraine. All right, I'm moving back to the live chat here. Going to check in with you guys there. Rad Doctor, thanks very much for becoming a member. America's favorite Brazilian, thank you for the $5. Did you ever read the article? I do remember you asking, and no, I have not had a chance to. I'll be honest with you. I just haven't. Thank you very much for the $5. Abu Hajr, thanks for the 206. Why doesn't push into Donetsk city? I mean, they are. They're attempting to. Donetsk isn't. There are Russians trying, kind of keeping that from happening right now. Just because you see, we'll go back to the map here. Just because you see no blue doesn't necessarily mean there isn't an active conflict happening in these areas. These yellow areas, these are contested zones, right? This entire front is contested. So to say that they're not pushing into Donetsk would be doing them a disservice, because I think that's absolutely happening. Now, you also have to remember, Russia has been in Donetsk since 2014. So the defensive posture of Russia here in the east, and again here in Crimea, is going to be extremely sound, or sound in a relative sense, right? Thanks again for the 206. Kvist, thank you for the 1387. Rick, thank you for the 20. Army better than Marines. Go Army. Hell yeah. They are so close. They are close. Yeah, they are. Absolutely. But again, you gotta think about things in a grander scheme. That feeling close, which it is, I would be interested to see what the defensive posture of that line is. I would be really interested to see that. Because I'm willing to bet it's very well dug in. Defense in depth. I'm talking, multiple layers there. Russians getting pounded by HIMARS. Yeah, absolutely. HIMARS 2024. That's who I'm voting for. I'll take a picture of my ballot. I don't care. Ronnie, what do you think of the M1117s the U.S. is sending over? We actually covered the 1117 at the beginning of the stream on Wednesday. The 1117 is cool, man. That system absolutely f***s. That thing's cool. Now, what's really going to be interesting to me is what type of 1117s. There was a report that came out that said the versions we would be sending included the 90 millimeter Cockerel low pressure cannon. If so, that's a duo team turret system. That thing's got some capability. It can move. It's got a lot of firepower on the top of it. But if you guys are interested in the discussion that we had on the 1117s, go back to Wednesday's stream and take a look at the very beginning of that. Not the M117, right? So there's a difference. Let's talk about that. The 1117, not now, Get out of my face. The 1117. Give you guys a picture of that. Coming up for you now. Now, this is your standard 1117, right? And actually, I think this is a digital representation of it. It's got a Mark 19. I want to say it's also got a 240 on it. But there is a commando version of this that has a 90 millimeter, basically cannon on top of it that can shoot everything from high explosive to high explosive anti-tank to high explosive squish head. That's actually what it's called, which is hilarious to me. HESH, H-E-S-H, high explosive squish head. And that thing's really cool. What it does is when it fires, the head is squishy. Exactly what it sounds like. And it'll smush itself onto its target to distribute that payload and place that explosive power across more of its target. But it also has canister rounds, so big, huge, badass shotgun on that 90 millimeter. So there was one report that I read that they were getting the commando versions of it. I can't be certain. If they are, that's even more capability than the 1117s. All right, coming back up here. And I got one more thing to show you. One second, guys. Do me a favor, tap on the like button. I'm going to run some music here while I'm searching for this last thing. Why can't I find it? It'll have to be for another show. All right, canister. Yeah, it's badass. That thing's cool. Cosplaying History Nerd, thanks for the $2. Your son was Russia's a bridge too far. It's a great way of putting that. Eagle Spurge, thanks for the 5. Ronnie, which rifle standard you like? AR, AK look, bullpup, some strange design. Standard AR. I'm a basic dude, I like what I know. But again, I am starting to get more and more into the idea of running an AK. Not necessarily for any other reason than being a lefty. Being able to operate the controls with my right hand, and the idea of it makes sense to me. But I would need to take some training courses to really help myself understand how to use it a little bit better. I do teach a foreign weapons course for the Army. I threw up a picture of that. The first part of that was just this past reserve duty. I taught a class on the AK. So from a foundations, from a history perspective, I know the AK inside and out. I actually, technically, am a certified armorer for the AK. But running it, operating it, using it is something I need more time to do. Again, always improving. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this stream tonight. Happy Friday to you. Happy Veterans Day. If you guys want to come and support veteran charity, stick around. This stream is going to redirect you to the other stream. You'll get a chance to meet my wife, who is going to take donations for our charity effort that we run over there and shoot me with a Nerf gun while we're live playing some Escape from Tarkov. I'd hope to have you over there. Please do check out the two things before I go, though. If you guys would like to check out our merch, we've got some pretty badass stuff in there. There's a 20% off code for you guys. Happy Veterans Day to you. Bayraktar20. It's right at the top. Check the pinned comment, run the command !! merch. And if you'd like to support us directly, consider picking up a Funker Premium account, funker530.com/pro. 100% of that goes back to us, gets you ad-free experience, a really cool badge in the chat, and we've got some awesome discount codes that are coming to you soon. I'm out of here. Stay informed.